Welcome. This is the second part of a four-part series we have. As Rebecca mentioned, we're going to be talking more about cooking, how to stock your pantry, what ingredients are the essentials for being able to put together some meals. We're also going to be talking about healthy snacking. And if you remember from last week, we talked about reading ingredient labels and how to navigate the grocery store. So hopefully as we progress along in these series, these topics sort of build on one another and explain more about and get you introduced to cooking and recipes and navigation in the grocery store and healthy eating and how all that comes together. Joining us this morning is Ella Burrows. She will be presenting the healthy snacking part of this segment. Ella is a senior dietetics student at the University of Maryland, and she and I are connected through a mentorship program sponsored by the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics. So she and I are going to be sealed at the hip for about a year, mentoring one another and learning from one another. As Rebecca mentioned, my name is Valerie Houghton. I'm an Aramark dietitian, and I work with the Aramark Dining Services team there on the campus, providing health and wellness education as well as the dining services meals. So I want to thank Rebecca for all of the work that goes into hosting these events. There's a lot of background work that she and her team do, so thank you very much for that. And thank you to Valdosta State University for hosting and sponsoring this event. So let's get started. We've got a lot of information to go over today, so I'm going to turn it over to Ella so we can start talking about healthy snacking, and then we're going to actually prepare a recipe, a very versatile snacking recipe. So over to you, Ella.
Alrighty, hey guys, my name is Ella. Like Val said, I'm an undergrad student too. I'm studying nutrition and food science, and I'm specializing in dietetics. So this sort of thing is right up my alley. Alrighty, so I'm gonna get started with a little introduction to healthy snacking, and the main idea here is just that mindful munching in between meals is gonna help you control your cravings and promote portion control throughout the day. So to start off, we have a couple of benefits to healthy snacking. Healthy snacking provides increased energy, increased mental clarity and awareness, fewer cravings for high fat and high sugar foods, and overall just a better feeling of well-being. So now we're going to take a few minutes to learn how you can snack your way to better health. So a few pointers to keep in mind is that snacking throughout the day helps keep your blood sugar in an optimal range, because every time we eat, our blood sugar goes up. And then throughout the day, as we use our energy for everyday habits like thinking, walking, just any basic life activities, your blood sugar starts to come back down. And so as your blood sugar drops too low, you could experience something called brain fog, which is basically just like a lack of mental clarity or mental sharpness. You might find that you can't quite think straight, or you don't feel like yourself. Some people call it being hangry. And also low energy levels from low blood sugar increase your cravings for sugary foods later in the day. So by eating healthy snacks at good intervals, you can help keep your blood sugar from dropping too low in between your meals. All right, so now we have a couple of tips to keep in mind for healthy snacking. One, healthy snacking helps you manage your hunger and keep your appetite in check. Two, never go more than 3 to 4 hours without eating. Three, skipping breakfast can lead to higher calorie cravings later. Four, eating lunch as well as daytime snacks help to front load your calories rather than over consuming later in the day when you're least active. So you might find that if you deprive yourself of calories in the morning, then at night you're a lot more hungry than you normally are, and you sort of miss those hunger cues that tell you when you're full. And that's another reason why it's so important not to skip breakfast, so that you don't have those cravings later. And finally, just remember that eating helpful snacks throughout the day help you ensure that your portions will be more reasonable at meal times. So now you might be wondering, is there a right or wrong type of snack? And really the answer is no. You just want to go with whatever's right for you. So if you're in the mood for something smooth, you might go with hummus and pita bread. But if you're in the mood for something crunchy today, you might try apples and peanut butter. So now we've got a few examples of healthy snack ideas that can be considered grab and go. You might try whole grain muffins, apples and string cheese, and that's great because apples are really nutrient dense, but they're a carbohydrate, so it gives you that boost of energy really fast, but it doesn't really keep you full all day or keep you full until your next meal. So that's why you pair it with something that's high in fat or protein like string cheese to hold you over until your next meal. Same thing goes with hummus and veggies, whole grain pretzels and mustard, whole grain crackers and low fat cheese. You can also try tuna salad on whole wheat bread and half a sandwich. You could have a handful of almonds and a banana, which again, bananas are a great source of naturally occurring sugar and also carbohydrate. And then almonds are a great source of fat to sort of hold you over to your next meal again. And also baked tortilla chips and salsa are another good example. Um, and then I want to highlight real fast, later you'll be learning how to make pumpkin spice granola as one of the recipes. And that's also a great snack option that I wanted to talk about before you learn how to make it, especially because Greek yogurt and granola is also one of our snack options, and that's personally my favorite snack actually. And this recipe is great because it includes pumpkin, canned pumpkin, dried cranberries, sunflower seeds, which are all, again, well, sunflower seeds are a great source of healthy fats, but pumpkin and cranberries are also a great source of vitamins and minerals, which is another important thing to consider when you're eating mindfully. Pumpkin especially is a really good source of vitamin A, which helps with your eyesight, but it's also a great source of antioxidants like beta carotene. So you might be wondering what the heck is an antioxidant? So basically, over time, as you're exposed to things like UV light from being out in the sun, chemicals from the environment, aging in general, you get these things called free radicals, which start to sort of break down your cells. And you might even experience it through aging. It's just something that happens, but we want to avoid it because as your cells break down from those free radicals, you're at increased risk for cancer and degenerate diseases, or degenerative, excuse me. So that's something we obviously want to avoid. So what these antioxidants do, they're naturally occurring and through reactions in your body, sort of slow that process of your cells breaking down from free radicals. So it sort of combats that effect. And lucky for us, they're really easy to get through our diet. You also get them from cranberries, which is included in the granola recipe, and cinnamon, believe it or not. And then, again, cranberries are also a great source of vitamin C, which helps with collagen production that keeps your skin nice and glowy. Yeah, so just keep that in mind as we move on to granola. And it's also a great snack option. I eat it by the handful. I put it on almond butter, on English muffins. I put it in my Greek yogurt. So that's just a good example for you to keep in mind. All right, so moving along, what about snacking in the work environment, especially the 9 to 5 environment? You're just going to want to keep in mind that healthy snacking is one of the keys to healthy snacking is planning. Um, you know you're going to be hungry during the day at work, so you want to plan for it. Plan to 5 days of snacking, not just one, especially when you go to the grocery store. Keep in mind the snacks that you're going to need throughout the week. And then keep in mind that most offices do have a refrigerator or an oven, some type of toaster, a microwave oven. So make sure you use them, plan ahead. And it's also a great idea to try to plan for lunch as well, especially if you don't get a long lunch break. And some healthy foods that you can keep at the office or even take with you to class if you have a packed class schedule would be apples, tangerines, pears, peaches, frozen fruit, any fruit that's really easy to transport, oatmeal, which is great if you have a microwave at your office, nuts, cottage cheese, bagels and muffins, cereal, baked chips, herbal teas, and any vegetable or fruit infused waters. All All right, so finally, we're going to go over portion sizes for snacking. And just to keep in mind that size and amounts do matter when you're snacking. And a few tips that we have for ensuring the right size snack. You want to make sure that your snack is around 150 calories. That's something that's just the right amount to sort of hold you over to your next meal without overdoing it so that you're not hungry later, if that makes sense. You don't want to sit down with a whole bag in your lap. It's really easy to do with crackers, chips, nuts, dried fruit, but then it's easy to overconsume and sort of ignore those hunger cues. So if you scoop out a handful and put the bag back in the cabinet, that's the best way to monitor your portion sizes. And then finally, you can try out pre-portioned products. You've probably seen those 100-calorie like muffin packs. That's a great example, so you know exactly how much you're getting. Or individually wrapped string cheeses. All right, so that is all I have for you for healthy snacking. So I'm gonna hand it over to Val and Rebecca.
All right, do we have any questions for Ella around healthy snacking? And feel free to put them in the chat. I'm monitoring the chat. All right, great job, Ella. Thank you.
Thanks.
Valerie, your mic is muted.
Thank you. This will make much more sense if you can hear it. When Ella was speaking, she actually was talking about the free radicals and the antioxidants and how those antioxidants are contained within the foods that we're eating. And I know that we've spoken about this before on the previous sessions that we've done. So thank you for bringing that up again. And we're going to continue to mention that as we move into a more plant-forward type of thinking. This is where all those antioxidants and polyphenols and all those great nutrients are housed within these plants that are able to fight off the free radicals and support your healthy immune system, which is really important for right now. So take her words for heart. She's spot on with that. Okay, so let's get started with this pumpkin spice granola. And I want to highlight things with this recipe is the versatility of it, and it also backs up what I'm trying to get across for ingredients in your cabinet that allow you to put items together, to put recipes together, to put menus together without having to, have just a plethora of items available. So you're going to see when I'm talking about and putting this recipe together how versatile this recipe is. It actually can be used more than just for granola. So let me switch out the ingredients and get started with that.
And while Valerie is working on ingredients, I'll throw out our first trivia question. And I'm going to be putting it in the chat as well. So when you answer the question, if you'll if you click on the little chat, there's a way that you can select to send your answer to the moderator. And if you'll do that and send that to Ella for me, that would be great. But our first question is, skipping what meal leads to higher calorie intake during the day?
I hope there's something coming in.
Yeah, do you want me to announce who answers first, or do you want to save that for the end?
Go ahead and announce.
Okay, cool. So Charlotte Todd answered first. She said breakfast, which is correct. Congrats, Charlotte.
All right, Charlotte, and if you'll send your mailing address in the chat to Ella as well, that would be great. Thank you.
Okay, do you want to go on with the next snacking quiz, or do you want me to go ahead with the recipe?
Go ahead and go with the recipe.
All right, let's do it. Okay, so this is a pumpkin spice granola. I think you're really gonna like this, and I want to again highlight what I've said previously. This is a very versatile recipe. So even though I'm using it as a granola, at the end of the preparation, I'm gonna show you how to use it in a couple of different ways. And many of these ingredients are on this, what I call the 7 essentials. You could say 10 essentials if you want to, or 15, depending on how you tailor your kitchen. But these are the essential ingredients that allow you to prepare many recipes and allow you a lot of flexibility in the kitchen. So let's get started. So we're going to start first with just some oats. These are just the regular old-fashioned oats right in the bowl. That's what I've got here. You're going to need quite a large bowl for this. Okay, if you're prepped ahead of time with me or cooking along, you just put a piece of parchment paper on a baking pan just like that. We're going to cook the granola right on that baking pan right there. So we're going to combine the pumpkin, and that's the pumpkin spice, which is right here. I'm just going to put that right on top. I'm going to stop right there and tell you something about this. And I bought these on purpose. So this is a pumpkin spice, just from the grocery store. All right, but I want to read off the ingredients to you because it's important that when you're talking about spices in your cabinet, you could actually make this yourself without buying it. Okay, and part of what I'm going to go over in a few minutes is about what spices would be most appropriate for your kitchen and are included in a lot of recipes. So in this particular pumpkin spice, there is cinnamon, ginger, nutmeg, allspice, mace, and cloves. And with those ingredients, those spices, you have a lot of flexibility with recipes and can bring in a lot of cultural influence into recipes. So, and you could make your own. If you remember from the ingredient labeling that we went over last week, whatever's listed first on the ingredient list is what's most in that product. So what's most in this product is cinnamon, and then the second ingredient is ginger, the third ingredient is nutmeg. This pumpkin pie spice this manufacturer has decided that cinnamon is the best spice in here, but perhaps you want nutmeg in here and not cinnamon. You can make your own pumpkin spice mixture, just experiment with it, but these are the ingredients that are already found in your cabinet, so there's really no need to buy this if you already have the ingredients. So I just wanted to highlight that. Okay, so we're going to continue on with this, and we're going to add the salt. And I've just added just a tiny bit of salt here, not much. If you don't want the salt in it, that's fine. You can leave that out. I don't think it would make that much difference to it. We're going to add the pumpkin. And this is canned pumpkin. That's another staple that you can just keep in your cabinet. You're not going to have fresh pumpkins all the time. But this will also freeze well. So if you open up the can, you don't use all of it, just pop it in a plastic bag and freeze it. You can have it. It's a great addition to muffins and other breads as well. All right, let's see. We've got a little bit of maple syrup to add through it for the sweetness. I actually am using a light maple syrup in here. You can use the regular maple syrup if you want to. You could also use honey if you'd like to do that. But I wanted to keep it a little bit calorie conscious, so I'm using a light pancake syrup or waffle syrup. All right, I'm actually going to add all of this in together here. You can mix these ingredients up in a small bowl if you want to, but for this demonstration, I'm just going to put everything right in here. Those are the pecans. You could also use another chopped nut if you'd like. Walnuts would be good. Almonds are fine, or a combination of those. Let me give that just a little bit of a stir to get it started. And these are sunflower seeds. Great addition for a granola. I'm just going to pop those in there. We've got a little bit of vanilla extract right on the top of that. That's going to give it sort of a fallish type of flavor, if you will. I really like vanilla extract, so a little bit more wouldn't hurt in here if you happen to like vanilla extract. I'm going to add some cinnamon as well. And then the recipe calls for adding the cranberries at the end, but this is some of the flexibility with cooking that I want you to think about. I don't want to add them at the end. I want all of this done at once. So I'm going to go ahead and add them in here. And I did test the recipe, and it works fine with the cranberries added in and baked in. As a matter of fact, I like it. So I'm just going to go ahead and pop them in. But if you prefer to add them at the end, that's okay too. This recipe is loaded with lots of fiber from the oats, of course, some from the pumpkin, the nuts. It's loaded with antioxidants. It's a very, very healthy mixture, and it's quite versatile as well. So we're just going to mix that up, and it will take just a little bit to get it all mixed in together. It's not going to be a real fluid type of mixture. It's going to be quite thick, actually. So just keep stirring it. I will also tell you that I thought this recipe would be just a bit sweeter. It's not, which is really great, because that again to me adds to the flexibility of the recipe. Because what you can actually do with this is to use it for more than just a granola. All right. So when we're finished mixing here, what we would do if we had the time, we would cook this at about 425 degrees, and then you'll set the timer, and then you'll just give it a toss to make sure that everything's coated and cooking in the oven, and it gives a sort of a crunch to it, which is what you want from the granola. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and just spread that out so you can see what it looks like. All right, I'm not going to spread all of it out. I'll just spread a little bit out here so you can get to see. What I did was just tap it down like this. Just spread it around when you have the whole pan. Just spread it around, tap it around a bit like that, and just pop it into the oven. And then you'll just have to toss it a couple of times with a spatula to make it sure that it's browned all the way through. But it smells great when it's cooking. The house smells like fall, actually. It's just a great combination of aromas. All right, so I want to show you the finished product, and then I want to show you the versatility of this recipe. So let me get the finished product for you.
Valerie, we also have a question for you.
Shoot.
Is there any way we can use fresh cranberries?
Yes, I would say yes, you could use fresh cranberries. It's going to be tart. They're going to be tart. So you might want to add just a little bit of sweetener, a little bit more sweetener if you want to do that. Remember, dried fruit is concentrated. Once you evaporate out all the water, the concentration of the flavor enhances. So you get a lot more in dried products. So the fresh cranberries, you won't have as intense of a flavor, but you'll just have to decide whether you like it or not. But you could certainly use them. It would be better if you chopped them into this granola instead of leaving them whole, so that you make sure that you're actually cooking it and you get some of that release of the flavor into the ingredients. Great question, though, and it's a perfect time for those cranberries coming up. Another question?
Nope, that's all we have so far.
Okay, all right. So here's the granola cooked. Okay, I just popped it in a jar, and I was thinking to myself, this would actually make a really great Christmas gift if you wanted to get started on your Christmas gifts right here. Just pack it in a jar for that. But as Ella mentioned, another snack to do is to have the Greek yogurt, and then just to pop on a little bit of the granola on top of it, or eat it like that. That's a really great way to do this. Remember about flavoring the Greek yogurt. If you wanted to use the vanilla extract in here, you could flavor it. You could also flavor it with the cinnamon or the nutmeg, those spices that I just mentioned. They are staples in the cabinet that I guarantee you will make any dish taste just a little bit different. All right, so that's one versatility of it. It's just having it like this. You could also pack it for a snack bag and have it as a granola to eat. But I want to show you one other option. So why not think about this for breakfast as well? So let's say you pair this with this is what happens to be almond milk, but you can use the dairy milk as well. Cow's milk will work. I would suggest either a low fat or a skim milk if you wanted to keep the calories down, and use it as a breakfast cereal. You could just pour the milk directly over there and then you have a breakfast cereal. However, this has oats in it, so you might want a warm dish. It's coming up from a little bit colder time of the year. So why not just add the milk to this, pop it in the microwave, and you could use it as almost like an oatmeal, like a granola type oatmeal, and that is also delicious as well. So the flexibility of these ingredients allow you to make a snack. They'll also allow you to make some breakfast items, if you will, and even the cereal and the milk would be a good snack as well, not only for breakfast. All right, any questions about that?
No, we just got a comment that the warming up sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, I think it would be an excellent idea.
So I'm going to throw out another trivia question for you guys. Snacks should be around how many calories per serving?
All right, so it looks like Janice was the first person to answer, and 150 calories is correct.
All right. I'm just going to scoot over these ingredients for the next one, but settle back for just a second. We're going to talk about stocking your pantry, and then we'll get on with the next recipe.
All right, well, I'll throw out another question then. Name 2 ingredients with antioxidant properties in the pumpkin spice granola recipe.
You guys are going to be antioxidant and free radical kings and queens by the time we finish these 4 sessions.
All right, Ella, who's our winner here?
Okay, so it looks like Wendy answered first. She said cinnamon and cloves. Cinnamon definitely does, but Val, do you know if cloves have antioxidants? I actually don't know off the top of my head.
Yeah, they do. Cloves would have antioxidants. Well, that's not one of the, well, okay, so it is, we didn't actually talk about that, but cloves was actually in that pumpkin spice, so I think that's a winning question.
All right, congrats, Wendy.
Almost all of the spices have got antioxidant properties. In fact, I don't think there's one that does not have an antioxidant property in it. Remember, the deeper, the darker they are, either in the vegetable and fruit world, the more antioxidants they're going to have, the more nutrients they're going to have. And these, you can't get much darker than these browns and these spices that we're using. So think of other things like turmeric, which is a beautiful color, full of antioxidants. Okay, settle back in for just a second, and we're going to talk a little bit more about the essentials for stocking your pantry. And when I say pantry, I also mean the freezer and the refrigerator as well, not just the dry goods. So I've just narrowed this to 7 ingredients this time, but as we talked last week, I had another list of items that you could start if you're starting to form your pantry, what you would think about. So let's talk about these for just a second. So having a well-stocked pantry can make all the difference when you're short on time and you need to cook a quick meal. Cooking wholesome meals and choosing healthy snacks is a lot easier when we keep the pantry stocked with healthy staples. I'm going to share 7 items that I think are essentials in the pantry, and I'll give you some hints on how these pantry essentials can be used in your recipes. I want to start off by talking about canned beans, and we've mentioned this before, and this is a way to get protein in your diet. It's healthy, it's full of fiber, it's affordable, they're very versatile, and I've just pulled out a couple of samples here that I've had in my cabinet. So these are just black beans, very simple. These are lentils, also a great source of fiber and nutrients in them. And then these are speckled beans, which I've not tried yet, but they're on my list to try. So I'll be using those in the next couple of weeks in a recipes that I want to try them out with. When you're looking for these items, look for, you can do the dried beans and peas, which are going to be very low sodium. If they'll just have the sodium that comes into them naturally in the plants, which is very low. But if you're going to buy the canned products, the canned beans, black beans or red beans or that, look for the low sodium type, and that will help you minimize the amount of sodium that you have in the can. And then if you wanted, while you're cooking, to add additional sodium, you could do that. You can also rinse these beans, the canned ones, and you will actually rinse away most of that salt. You won't rinse away all of it, but you rinse that salt off if you can't find the low sodium ones. So what do you do with these? So the sources, or a way to incorporate these into the recipes are to use them in chilies, stews. You could actually cook the beans and then use them as a topping on a salad, especially black beans. Those are very popular. You could fill a tortilla with these. You can make veggie burgers out of these, and things you can stuff, potatoes with them, like sweet potatoes and black beans are a great combination. Another item that's a staple is canned tomatoes and tomato sauce and tomato paste if you want to explore the whole range of these. Canned tomatoes are very versatile. Again, you can buy them in the low sodium versions. You can buy them whole, you can buy them whole, and you can buy them diced. You'll find them with Italian spices and herbs in them, and they range in price. Here's a hint about tomatoes. In my opinion, when you're putting tomatoes into a recipe, it's an ingredient that's going to meld in and become go into a stew or a soup. So the tomatoes aren't really the focal point of it, but they add a component of flavor to the recipe. So in my opinion, I wouldn't buy a very expensive can of the tomatoes. I would maybe save those little budget dollars and cents for another product, like maybe an organic meat if you wanted to do that. But for my opinion, I wouldn't spend the money on a very expensive can of tomatoes. To me, it doesn't make that much difference in it. They're all going to contain about the same amount of vitamin A and vitamin C. They also have the antioxidants lycopene and lutein in them, which are, we talked about before, have a lot of cardiovascular benefit, as well as eyes, with helping to prevent the macular degeneration. One interesting little component about this, when tomatoes are cooked like canned tomatoes, lycopene is made even more available, which I did not realize that, but that's a great way to actually get more nutrients in them. All right, so again, you can use the canned tomatoes in chilies, sauces, stews, and pizza sauce as well. All right. So whole grains. So whole grains are budget-friendly, versatile, and fast cooking. Whole grains like quinoa, whole grain couscous, oatmeal, which you've seen us use today, and whole wheat pasta are full of fiber, antioxidants, and again, those anti-inflammatory fighting phytonutrients. Whole grains are a healthy alternative to white pasta and rice and can help satisfy your hunger a little bit more.
Valerie's got a quick question for you.
Okay.
What is in the tomatoes that prevents muscular degeneration?
It's not muscular degeneration, it's macular.
Thank you.
So it's eyes.
Eyes.
So yeah, so the two are lutein and lycopene.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, sure. Thank you for the question. Okay. So when preparing whole grains, plan on making a bit more than required so you can freeze the rest for later use, like for making grain bowls, stir fries, macaroni and cheese, overnight oats, and cold salads. All right, so that's stocking your cabinet with grains. Let's talk about the herbs and spices that I spoke about. A well-stocked spice cabinet is indispensable. Just a few shakes from a jar can change a dish, the flavor profile, into something amazing. As an added benefit, herbs and spices have many health benefits due to their high antioxidant content. Keep these on hand. Thyme, cayenne pepper, cumin, ginger, cinnamon, salt and pepper. And you can use those spices in a variety of recipes. They can be added to yogurt, as we talked about, especially things like cinnamon, nutmeg, and mace. Ginger is excellent in yogurt as well. You can mix those into sour cream. You could put thyme or rosemary into sour cream, changes the profile of it. You can put them in beverages if you haven't thought about adding nutmeg or cinnamon to your tea, or ginger. You could do that as well. You can stir them into a little bit of ice cream, have a treat, and you can even use them to infuse products. Like you could use the cinnamon to infuse it into honey and give it a different profile. You can also use ginger in honey. You can also infuse vinegars with that and be able to use flavored vinegars like thyme and rosemary flavored vinegars. All right. Let's talk about frozen vegetables. Frozen vegetables are the perfect substitution when fresh vegetables just aren't available in the kitchen. They can remain frozen for months, and so there's always a vegetable option available. The most common frozen vegetables include green beans and broccoli, but experiment with other vegetables like pearl onions is one of those. What about edamame and artichokes for fun? Look for no salt added options. Again, these are used in stews, stir fries, and pasta dishes. So you begin to see a theme about these categories of recipes and how these staples within your cabinet, your refrigerator, or your freezer can actually help you to make these recipes really quickly. All right, eggs. Eggs are great for breakfast, but more so than that. Eggs are make for a filling and high protein, quick meal any time. Eggs typically last in the refrigerator from 3 to 5 weeks, but chances are you'll go through those before that time. Omelets are a great way to use these eggs. Boiled eggs are an excellent snack, can be made ahead of time and kept in the refrigerator, and they're easy to carry. You can make things like egg salad, breakfast sandwiches, and stir fries as well. Eggs are a great source of protein. They're one of the highest, what we call high biological value foods within all of the foods that we have, giving you the best, most efficient use of protein out of all of the products available to us. Milk happens to be the second most, animal milk happens to be the second most high biological value-based protein. All right, last thing I'm going to talk about here is canned or boxed broth or stock. Pre-made broths and stocks can be a great addition to recipes and can pack a lot of flavor very quickly. Select no salt added or low sodium broths, and then you can always add salt afterwards as desired. The 14-ounce can is perfect when cooking for 1 to 2 people compared to a larger 32-ounce size. Although higher in sodium, though, an alternative is to use bouillon cubes, which are you can keep in the cabinet and they don't have to be refrigerated, and you can use a part of a bouillon cube. You don't have to use all of it. You just wrap it back up and put it back in the container. You can also find powdered broths and stocks, and those are a good source for adding a lot of flavor profile. This is also very budget friendly. If you wanted to change the flavor of something like one of the grains that you're cooking, the quinoa or the rice, add one of these bouillon cubes to it, either a vegetable-based bouillon cube, or if you want to use the chicken or the beef-based bouillon cubes, throw a little bit of that bouillon cube in there, and you'll get an added flavor onto the rice and the grains. Again, these are bouillon cubes and broths are used in soups, sauces, stews, and gravies. So they actually incorporate it in many of the recipes that we use. Okay, so let's get started using some of these versatile ingredients that I have. All right, so we're going to be making a creamy Tuscan chicken and pasta dish. And I thought this was a great way to start off our colder weather and incorporates a lot of ingredients that we have on hand. These ingredients were very purposeful, and the recipe is very purposeful for a couple of reasons. Number one, there's a lot of flexibility with this recipe. You can incorporate meat products if you want to, or you can just leave it plant-based, so you have the ability to do that. I think that you'll find if you experiment this recipe, you can add canned beans to it. You could add other ground meats to it or no meat at all. So keep that in mind as we go through it. And that's part of actually cooking in the kitchen, is just experiment and find out what works best for you. All right, so there's a couple of stages to this recipe, but it's actually it goes quite quickly. The first thing that we would actually do is to prepare the chicken. And I did buy the chicken strips with this, but you can buy breasts of chicken, which is a little bit less expensive, and cut them into strips yourself. In this bag right here, because as I've said before, I don't like to clean up a lot of things, so I've just added the breading to the chicken. So we're going to bread this chicken, and then we're going to put the sauce on top of it. So if you'll just, we've got 1/4 cup of flour in here, a cup of the plain Italian style breadcrumbs, 1/2 cup of Parmesan cheese, and then I have the meat here. So this is pretty simple. All we're going to do is just pop the chicken in the bag, just like that. You could use a larger bag if you wanted to. I just wanted to keep it small for demonstration purposes here. And then just shake it. And experiment with this. If you want to add rosemary to this, thyme, Italian seasoning, a little bit of cumin, you could change the flavor and add taco seasoning to this. You get a whole different flavor profile for these chicken strips. All right. So instead of having fried chicken strips, we're going to have baked chicken strips. So this is just a pan lined with foil that I've added cooking spray to. And you just line them up on the sheet. Let me find the other one in here, it's hiding.
Valerie, just a quick time check. We're at 11:47, so we're a little over already.
Wow. Okay. All right. I'll try to speed this up. All right. So you'll bake those off according to the recipe. It takes about 15 minutes to bake, 20 minutes to bake, and then that's what they look like when they come out. So they're nice and crispy. They're browned. From here, you would just cook the pasta according to the directions. That's pretty easy. You can use any type of pasta if you want. The recipe called for ravioli. So I've already cooked that, and that's available for me to use. The rest of it is just to put everything in the recipe. The basil, the tomatoes, full of antioxidants. I added some sun-dried tomatoes to this recipe because I could not find the Alfredo sauce with the sun-dried tomatoes in it. So I just bought sun-dried tomatoes myself and added them to it. That adds some flexibility. I'm just going to add a little bit of Parmesan cheese. And all you do is heat this on the stove. It's pretty easy. It's a beautiful dish, and it is full of flavor. It's a great profile, the red and green along with the deep red for the sun-dried tomatoes, and a really, really nice recipe. And that's really as difficult as this gets. It's just putting a protein together with a pasta sauce using pasta. So I'll show you what the finished product looks like. So I've just separated the products here, but if I were serving this, I would actually have the pasta on the bottom, and I'd probably put the little strips of chicken and then pour over the sauce onto it as well. But you could keep them separate if you want to. You can add the pasta directly into the sauce while it's cooking. That's fine to do that as well. So I hope that this has been an experiment and a journey for you through the cabinet to right to the table and understanding how recipes come together with the ingredients and how grocery shopping and stocking your pantry all come together for making some delicious meals at home.
All right. Thank you, Valerie. Any final questions before we close our session? I have great info. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you for being here.
So our winners, I have Wendy Butler, Janice Inman, and Ella. Who was our third winner?
Charlotte Todd. And I have Janice and Charlotte's addresses, but Wendy, if you could go ahead and send me yours as well so that we can send you a prize, that would be great.
I have Wendy's. She just emailed it to me. So we have all of them.
Oh, perfect. All right.
Thank you. Thank you all very much for participating. And our next session is on, when is it?
I think it's the 20th of October.
Yes, October 20th. So we'll see y'all then.
All right, y'all. Remember to wash your hands. Stay safe. Thank you so much for being here.
And Valerie, I have a quick question for you after everyone leaves. So let me see.
Okay.